Cell phones turned off. Okay. The Redevelopment Agency meeting of June 6, 2018 is called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. These proceedings are being video recorded as well as presented live on KCLV, Cable Channel 2, closed caption for hearing impaired viewers. Please note, customers of CenturyLink and Cox Communication may view this program in high definition on channel 1002. The council meeting, as well as all other KCLV programming, may be viewed on the internet, www.kclv.tv/live. The proceedings will be rebroadcast, KCLV Channel 2 and the web, the Wednesday of the meeting at 8 p.m., Friday at 4 a.m., Saturday 7 p.m., Sunday at 7 a.m., and the following Monday at 5 p.m. This building is protected by state-of-the-art fire detection and suppression sprinkler system. If alarms should activate, please, during today's meeting, please evacuate using the exit at the back of the chambers, going out to the mezzanine. Proceed out the double doors to the terrace, go down the back staircase. For anyone who has difficulty with stairs, please check with a marshal or fire official for assistance. Once outside, please assemble on the northeast corner across the street from City Hall at Lewis and First. Employees wearing safety vests or city marshals will inform you when it's safe to re-enter the building. For public comment related items on the agenda, citizen participation, and public hearing items, we have available a speaker card which you may complete and submit to the city clerk up front. Cards are available online in the clerk's office or at the rear of these chambers. If you do not submit a card, it does not prevent you from speaking under public comment, citizen participation, or specified public hearing items. If anyone's present today who has need for hearing impaired equipment, please see the city clerk staff. If you parked in the parking garage across the street, please be sure to have your ticket validated by our security officers when exiting. We will move on to agenda item 3. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be related to matters on the agenda for action. The amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. All comments made will be cross-referenced to those specific items. If anyone submitted a speaker card or who wishes to speak under this portion of the agenda, please come to the podium, state your name for the record. We will set the time at 1 minute. I think, marshals, you have to beat away everybody from all these lines. We will move on to agenda item 4. For possible action to approve the final minutes by reference to the regular Redevelopment Agency meeting of April 18, 2018, Mayor Pro Tem, is there a motion to approve the minutes, please?
A motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Please vote and please post. Motion passes. We'll go on to agenda item 5, discussion for possible action regarding notice of intent to augment and amend the fiscal year 2018 annual budget, City of Las Vegas Redevelopment Agency General Fund in the amount of $2,300,000. Good morning.
Good morning. Vanetta Alpiar, Director of Finance. The item you have before you today is the intent to augment the Redevelopment Agency's budget for 2018. NRS allows the current budget to be augmented or modified for additional spending authority if we have additional revenues or we start the year with a higher beginning fund balance than was originally estimated. It is a two-step process for those funds that have property tax. So this is the first step in that process. We will be bringing back the actual augmentation at the June 20th meeting. We will be requesting the increase to the RDA budget for expenditures that were not budgeted related to the Fremont Street Experience renovation project. At the time the FY18 budget was prepared, that transaction was in the discussion phases. And so when the budget was prepared, those expenditures were not included. During the year, we issued bonds, as well as we received the contribution, the commitment for the contribution from Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority for this project. And they anticipate that they're going to spend $2.3 million toward that project before year end. The balance of the project has been budgeted in the FY19 budget. So we are requesting a 2.3 to handle the expenditures before year end.
Wonderful. Are there any comments, questions? Good morning. And good morning, Councilman Creer as well. Any questions, comments?
I move for adoption.
Okay. Councilman Coffin moves to approve. Thank you. There's a motion.
Thank
Please
you.
vote and please post.
Voting client isn't up here on this computer, so just record me as an aye. Well, I don't know. Oh, here it is.
That motion carries. Thank you. We're on to agenda item 6. Report by Economic and Urban Development staff on projects within the downtown Las Vegas focused on East Fremont to coordinate development and related infrastructure consistent with Vision 2045 Downtown Master Plan. This is in reference to Wards 3 and 5, Councilman Coffin and Creer. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor Goodman, members of the City Council and Redevelopment Agency Board. For the record, Bill Arndt, Director, Economic and Urban Development. It's my pleasure this morning to introduce two speakers, Brad Jerbick, as well as Tom Perigo, who are going to be giving a presentation on how we're implementing a portion of our downtown master plan, Vision 2045. One of the crucial things of working on downtown redevelopment as part of our overall economic development strategy is placemaking. How do we create great places? If you think about great cities around the country, they have great downtowns. And great downtowns have great places. And this is really kind of the spirit of this project that we've been working on trying to package for the last several months, and it's starting to come to fruition. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce Tom and Brad. Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you, Bill. For the record, Tom Perigo, Executive Director of Community Development. And Bill hit pretty much great introduction talking about placemaking. That's what this is all about. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the implementation measures of the 2045 Downtown Vision Plan, and then Mr. Jerbick will be getting into more detail on the project on Fremont Street in particular. So it's been just about 2 years ago that Council adopted the Vision Downtown Master Plan, Vision 2045 Downtown Master Plan. That action established a very strong vision for downtown and was based on a lot of input from residents, more than any other planning effort I've seen in 20 years in this city. We had over 2,400 people involved, stakeholders, business owners, property owners, citizens, visitors, number of meetings through Planning Commission, City Council, a lot of input. As a result, at the heart of that plan that really captures that vision are 5 big ideas. Create mixed-use hubs, diversify the economy, create streets for people, a greener downtown, expedite implementation. These 5 big ideas and that vision that Council adopted 2 years ago is really guiding policy making for this area, developing a new policy framework, and is guiding the investment decisions of hundreds of millions of dollars of public money into the area. Just some of the current efforts that are ongoing, as we all know. The Downtown Form-Based Code. The idea here is to provide a focus on urban design and development standards that are completely in line with the Vision 2045 Downtown Master Plan. The Open Space and Trails Plan that's ongoing right now. Back in October of 2015, as part of the development of the Downtown Vision Plan, we had a workshop with Council and we talked about open space and parks because this was emerging through all of the meetings as one of the top issues and top priorities among all the stakeholders and citizens, and Council expressed that same sentiment that this is very important for our downtown to drive business, to drive a higher quality of life, and to really get people interested in moving and living downtown, which will also support all of our retail and commerce activities downtown. So this was very critical, and what what staff came away with from that conversation with Council and what's so clearly articulated in the plan is that because there's a scarcity of land where we can create new parks and open space, but we do have a lot of rights of way within the downtown. And there's opportunities to recraft or reimagine or remake those rights of way in such a way that adds vibrancy, green space, open space, park-type amenities along those corridors. And so that was a very important part of the downtown plan. Also, the downtown wayfinding is underway. Again, this is very important. Something that Bill picked up on, the placemaking as well as to ease movements in and around our downtown, supporting commerce and supporting tourist activities. And then, of course, the collaboration with RTC on the light rail, bringing people into downtown. The mobility of people getting in and around downtown is critical to the future success of our downtown. So Mr. Gerber is going to get into a lot more detail on this, but one of the focus points for the expedited implementation, which is part of the 5 big ideas, is Fremont Street. Obviously, Fremont Street is very critical to our downtown. It's sort of the core. It's where it all began. It's an important part of our downtown, and it comes with significant challenges in how we remake, redevelop, reimagine that area. And so Mr. Gerber is going to talk a lot more about that here in a second. And finally, on the transportation side, the Downtown Vision 2045 Master Plan is driving a lot of investment decisions in infrastructure. On this map, you can see in blue and red all of the streets that are under construction over the next 3 years. So there's a lot of activity, and a lot of that is focused on greening the streets, complete streets, making mobility comfortable and safe for pedestrians, for cyclists, for motorists, making sure that we continue the link between the land use and the mobility is critical, and that's why at the same time Council adopted the Mobility Master Plan. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jerbick, who's going to start talking specifically about the Fremont Street project. Again, these are planning and public works and economic development projects all tied together with an additional component that has kind of become known as Project Enchilada.
Thank you, Tom. Is this one? Thank you. Good morning, Brad Jerbick on behalf of the City Attorney's Office. Before I begin the Enchilada presentation, I want to set the stage a little bit. There are 2 contracts on the agenda today, one under RDA and one under the City Council agenda, for 2 different expertise, 2 different groups that bring a different kind of expertise to the table. One is on this morning, right after this item, you'll vote on a contract for a company called Downtown Works. Downtown Works is a company that just does urban retail. And that'll be the first time that we will have used them in Las Vegas. But I met them 15 years ago. Midge McCauley, who runs it, worked with Jim Rouse, one of the first people in the United States that ever did urban retail and urban revitalization. Jim Rouse, I didn't realize until I went to Baltimore and saw a museum that kind of a tribute to urban design, had a picture of him on the cover of Time magazine in the 1960s. And underneath it, it said, "Cities are fun." He's one of the first people that ever did it, and Midge worked with him back then. And since then, she's developed a company that understands that urban environments are completely different than other environments. And so we got that contract on the agenda following this item, and we're going to ask for your approval. And then you're going to get, under consent, under 27, you're going to get a rare opportunity to meet a couple of people that I met 15 years ago through your husband, Mayor Goodman. Mayor Oscar Goodman called me to his office 15 years ago and introduced me to 2 people who were, one, an architect who was teaching at University of Pennsylvania, and the person who later became her husband, a PhD in cultural architecture and history. And they have a passion for Las Vegas. They brought students here years ago to do design charrettes on Fremont Street. They are experts in mid-century modern architecture, and they can help us elevate this project to a level that the city has not participated in before. So I just want you to keep in mind as we go through this, those 2 contracts follow this, and the reason this presentation is on today is to set the stage for what I think is going to come. Having said that, let's get to the beginning. This is Project Enchilada Phase 1, and it's called Enchilada because we are literally looking for the first time at doing a project that encompasses everything. We're looking at retail, we're looking at residential, we're looking at traffic, we're looking at pedestrian, we're looking at bike paths, we're looking at an urban environment that's green and usable and livable. And so the first part of it, Phase 1, goes from Las Vegas Boulevard, which is on the left side of your screen, all the way to 14th Street, which is on the right side of your screen. It goes from Ogden, which is the road at the top of your screen, to Carson on the bottom of your screen. And in that, you can see a number of buildings that are shaded kind of tan. Those buildings are owned by Downtown Projects, which have been a key partner in working with us so far. Let me let you know where we're at with Downtown Projects. We've been working with them for about 7 months now, and we've been working on the project that you're going to see. It is not final. I'm not going to represent that, and I'm not going to represent that we have got all the pieces filled in. We've got a number of things that we need to work on, and we are working on right now. Number one is security. At the end of this project, if we're going to have a walkable street and a livable neighborhood, we have to have security, both for their buildings, for the people that live downtown, for the tourists that visit downtown. We need to deal with the homeless issue, and so that's definitely part of this project. And so we're looking at what's going on with the courtyard and other things, but we also have ideas of things that we can do on top of that to address homeless issues in the downtown area to make this better. You'll notice that the benches have been removed from the downtown area recently because of the absolute problem it caused with homelessness. It didn't help, it made it worse. But hopefully they'll be returned someday when we have the environment more stabilized. Maintenance of signs and buildings haven't been completely worked out yet, but we are talking about that right now. I've already been to the Centennial Commission, the mayor's aware of that, talking about going there for a grant for some of the historic neon signs downtown, but those are issues that are going to be worked out in the next few months. The level of facade treatment, how far are we going to take the motel restoration of the facades and things like that, that'll also be worked out, but you'll have some ideas as to the direction we all want to go. And then finally, the duration of the commitment of all the parties involved. So those are things that are there, and so I don't want to misrepresent to you that every detail of this is nailed down, but it will be as we go through the project.
And could you mention the relationship that you have with the Boneyard?
Yes,
In this process?
I have reached out to Rob McCoy in the Neon Sign Museum, and I have suggested, although there's certainly no agreement yet as to whether or not these projects can work together, it is our hope that this can actually be an advertisement for the Neon Sign Museum, and we could possibly work toward an eventual agreement that we could share signs or something like that. I'm not going to say that they are on board with that, because they're not right now, and they may not be. But what I hope is that we can see that there is value in what we have and what they have. And the idea, and you'll see as we get to it and we get to the empty lots, you can see how those kinds of things can work together to make a better downtown. So with that, let me go to the next slide, which are the project teams. The Civic Visions, which I told you is on today, item 27, is George Thomas and Susan Snyder. They are currently teaching at Harvard. They are the mid-century modern architect experts. Downtown Works is on this morning, the next agenda item. That's Midge McCulley and Kelly Cost. Design Workshop, which has been under contract with Public Works and Planning for quite some time now. Steve Knoll and Wang Xin, they have been working on the kind of the conceptual models of Fremont Street. And so you'll see a couple of representations of that. And then CA Group are going to take those conceptual models and turn them into blueprints. So that team is already in place, and we already are also working through Design Workshop with Lotus Landscape, who you knew previously as Stone Rose Landscape. That's Jay Plagan Cool and Company, who did the Healing Garden, as our landscape experts.
Are they using both names then, and this for
They
this
formed a new
project?
company just for this.
Okay, thank
Just
you.
for this. Let me go to the next one. Planning, we have Mike Howe with Planning, Stacy Reich with EUD. For the City Manager's Office, my friend Tom Perigo and Jorge Cervantes. And Public Works, Mark Sorensen, Randy McConnell, and Steve Glimp. So this is really a collaborative effort between a number of departments and a number of outside experts. Let's go to the elements. The elements are 4: streetscape, landscape, motels, and neon signs. These are just representations of things that you see around the country and other street treatments that other cities have received. Let's go to the motels currently. Downtown Projects owns about 7 motels in the project area right now. Sorry, 8 motels counting the Ferguson, 7 motels that have not been restored or worked on yet. These are a couple of them in the block as you cross Maryland Parkway. This is a map that shows the location of the motels that are currently owned by Downtown Projects. So you have the Ferguson starting at 1028 Fremont, working your way all the way down to the Valley Motel. We're very fortunate in doing a phase 1. It's such a rare opportunity to have one owner of every one of these motels in the project area that we can deal with. I mentioned to Dave Duggan, who's here with Downtown Projects earlier, how lucky we are. If Downtown Projects weren't formed and hadn't purchased these motels, I don't think we'd have a shot at this kind of a project right now. And so I just want to put that on the record. Let's go to what they look like now. These are just 4 representations. At the top is the Travelers, then you see the Gables. Down below to the left is the Valley Motel, and to the right is the Las Vegas Motel. That's what they look like today. But it's really remarkable, as we got into the motels and looking at the architecture and bringing our experts along, it was funny how much every one of these is so architecturally the same as when they were originally built. A very, very rare thing. We probably have more mid-century modern motels than they do in Palm Springs, California, where they celebrate Mid-Century Modern Week every year with a week-long festival. this is something that we should get our arms around. So when we look at the motels, let's look at the facades. What you're going to see is what they are today and what they were. What they are today and what they were. As you're watching these wipes of the motels going from today to the 1950s, these are not renderings, these are postcards. That each one of these motels had postcards, and I was able to acquire them on eBay and show you just exactly what they look like. And you can tell they were beautiful. Both the landscaping, the exteriors, the colors were just incredible. And so that's what we've been working on, is a facade restoration, not a motel reopening, not an historic preservation project, but a facade restoration with landscaping that will not just clean up the street, but will provide venues for opportunities like food trucks and car rallies and parades and festivals like Halloween's and things like that in the downtown area. The next one is signs. These are a representation of the signs downtown in their current condition. Some of them, as you can see, these are actually original signs that have just been debulbed. So we've had 2 sign companies out looking at them in depth, going through them, looking at what it would take to restore them. And so this is what you're going to look at when it comes to restored signs. This is the Starview sign. In the previous slide it said Alicia. Let's go to the next. On the left is what it is today. In the middle is what it could be during the daytime, and at night on the right. That's 100% fully restored with authentic neon and LED bulbs. Another representation, different type of sign, the Traveler sign. That's it today, that's it cleaned up, and that's it at night. And then we have a number of signs that are missing downtown. So when we get to the Valley Motel, what you're going to see next, this is a version of the Vegas Vic, also known as Howdy Partner downtown. This was a common sign in the downtown area. The top of it that's in red on the left is missing, but that's what it looked like on the right. So we've asked the sign companies to look at actually reproducing the missing sign if we can't find it. And so we've looked at both reconstruction and reproduction.
Brad,
Yes.
that slide before this slide,
Yes. Let me-
see the great person climbing?
Yes.
Can we get that too?
Yes.
Okay.
The
I was
sign
like,
company took
where's
that
the
off.
climber?
I
Yeah.
am certain that the climber, as you are aware, is a signature now downtown. If you
Yeah.
look at Llama Lot across the street from the Western, you've got the climber is on most of the poles in different rainbow colors, and you've got them, of course, on the Traveler sign. So there was no intent to remove the climber from the sign. The sign company just digitized him out.
Okay.
But if you go downtown, for those of you who haven't visited lately, the climber is one of the things that Downtown Projects and Tony Shea has brought to liven it up.
It's the whole enchilada.
The whole enchilada, correct. Let me go forward to the vacant lots. So what we have downtown is, as you're aware, from Las Vegas Boulevard to 6th Street is pretty much intact. And then you have the El Cortez block, and that's intact. And then you go all the way down to Container Park. And then after that, you go a little ways before you get to the motel. So we have some vacant lots. We call them the missing teeth in this fabric we want to create downtown. So what do you do with missing teeth? You don't have a building to work with. You don't have a facade to restore. So what do you do with it? So let me show you a couple of examples. One to the left is Llama Lot, as it exists today. That was just taken 2 days ago. It's a parking lot that's used as a big stage for Life is Beautiful. Yeah, Llama Lot is the site of the former Ambassador Hotel. The Downtown Projects bought it. Both of the buildings were very dilapidated. They were leveled, and a parking lot was created that is an entire city block. And on the front of it is a very clever sign that they already had reconstructed. They took an Ambassador sign, and as you can see, it says Llamas Park for free. And it's lit up at night. It's totally been restored by Downtown Projects. But behind it, and between that sign and the ends of the street, there's kind of a little bit of bleakness. And then across the street is another example. That's the Western Hotel parking lot to the west of the Western Hotel. So what do you do with these vacant lots? And so one of the recommendations or suggestions is to take existing neon signs that used to be on Fremont Street, rebulb them, rebuild them, and then line the street, not with just one sign like you see at Llama Lot, but maybe 4 or 5 signs. So you have a fabric of neon that walks you from one end of the street to the other. And as I've talked to Tom, without overplaying it, you could do a lot of things with a lot this big, including erect bigger signs on the back side of the lot on the Ogden side, like the original Stardust sign or something like that. So these could be displayed in a place that they were originally from and in their original glory. So let's look at some of those signs. We don't own all of these. City Center is owned by the Neon Sign Museum, as is the Clark Inn Hotel, but we have the Vegas Motel, and we have the Paradise, and we have others. So these are just a sample of available downtown neon signs that could be used to fill these missing teeth. So let's go to the last component, street and landscaping. This map came out of a workshop that we had a few months ago. And again, we're looking at Las Vegas Boulevard on the left and 14th Street on the right. And that purple area, it's been recommended by our architect experts that it really a kind of a unique area when it comes to that part of the street. From Main Street to Las Vegas Boulevard, you have Glitter Gulch, which is the casinos and things like that, all run by Fremont Street Experience. But then from Las Vegas Boulevard to 8th Street, you've got that entertainment district, the feed. And they're recommending like a special treatment area for there, so we'll talk about that in a moment. And then on down, we have a more challenging area, which has got some retail right now, which has got the motels right now, which has got the Ferguson, which is being redone right now, which has got Fremont 9, the 300-room apartment complex, which is about completed right now. So that, it requires, we think, a different treatment. So let's look at it. What you're looking at above and below are two different renderings from Design Workshop of potential designs for Fremont Street. The first one is a representation of Fremont Street with one lane of traffic in each direction, with 22.5-foot wide sidewalks on each side, with street parking on each side, and the retail experts think that street parking, at least in some areas, is vital, and it shows it with a very densely tree-lined street. The one below it is another version, and again, there are probably 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 versions of this that you can imagine. But we only showed you 2 today to let you know that we're not locking into just one, because we're not there yet. But the one below shows no street parking, but bike lanes in each direction. So there's a lot of way to skin it. But all versions of this have got double wide sidewalks and 72-inch box trees all the way down the street to 14th Street.
Mr. Chair, if we just pause here just for 1 second. So to a lot of us, we look at this and say, well, we like certain components of one or the other, and this is nice and whatever. But the team that's assembled, and this is really important, the team that is assembled, they are experts in their particular fields, and they look at these designs very critically and strategically for how do we make this comfortable for pedestrians and drive activity at the street level? How do we make this a street that really drives retail sales and makes not only the businesses visible, but creates a reason for people to walk down that street. It becomes inviting. So whether you have parking on the sides of the street or whether you have bike lanes, all that is very critical to the design of this street. And that's why this team is so important to make sure in this very important corridor for our downtown that we get this right.
Mr. Perigo, question on that. Who owns the street?
It's in transition.
The reason I'm asking is when talking about the vacant lots, when you put signage there, and obviously Tony Shea, Downtown Project, owns those. As a developer comes in who wants to put in an office building or apartments or motel, whatever, the ownership, we know at this point, belongs to Downtown Project for them to sell. What happens to these signs on those projects? And then as far as maintenance of the streets, does the city own the streets or the streets shared by whatever?
This is Jorge Cervantes, Mayor, for the record. The streets are public right-of-way. Right now, they're under the ownership of the Nevada Department of Transportation, but as we briefed about a month ago, we're in the process of doing exchange of Summerlin Parkway for some state roads that are within the city, this being one of them. So we'll be taking over Fremont from 8th Street to Charleston. We already have it from Las Vegas Boulevard to 8th. We did that to do the Fremont East Entertainment District. Now we're taking the rest of it.
Thank you. Okay.
It's a relevant question, too, because there's something I had not intended to include in this, but I need to include it. As we've been going through this relationship, and we've been building it with downtown projects and other stakeholders of the downtown area, we've had suggestions for art projects from Zappos in the area, some in the right-of-way, some on private property. And so this is a wonderful opportunity to create an opportunity not just for pedestrian traffic, for shade, for movement, but for public art as well. And so all of that is part of Enchilada. So let's go to
Brad,
the
one
One more thing, please.
Thank you, Mayor. It's on the same subject. I'm glad the mayor brought that up because I want to just ask a couple of questions needing a very short answer. Is Downtown Project owned by Amazon or is that personal Mr. Shea?
It's Mr. Shea, I believe.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right, that's a good thing. And
It's
then,
a separate company, completely separate.
And the legal weeds will become important to get into. So we'll have to have total buy-in, and of course, he'll probably want to give all that property to the city when he loses interest in the city. I'm sure of it. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the last two slides are kind of slapped together slides that we put together. They're not as professional as we'd like them to be right now, but it gives you a flavor for where we're going. The first one is a section of Fremont Street. It's photoshopped. It shows Chinese elm trees that are 60-inch box trees that go right in front of the Ferguson Hotel. So let's take a look at that. That's the street today. We're going to clean it up. Got to get rid of the median. And that's with the trees. Now, the next one you're going to see is a little more accurate. This is a representation of Fremont Street. This is Las Vegas Boulevard as you look east towards 6th Street. The trees that have been recommended by our landscapers are Shumard oaks, and that's the same tree that you see in the Healing Garden. These are about 15, 20-foot high specimens. They are going to provide instant shade, instant beauty for downtown, and then they're recommending different streetlight treatment for downtown as well. So this is just an idea. It's not cast in stone, but this is the final show. This is the enchilada.
Just real quick before you click that button, the one thing to keep in mind here is while this is a fairly good representation of the level of trees and shade we expect, the street will be narrower and those sidewalks will be considerably wider, which creates a tremendous opportunity for on-street activity, dining, whatever, all that kind of stuff.
This is Fremont Street as it looked about a year ago. That's before Corduroy put up their new sign and they opened. But as you can see, we've got the signs in the middle of the street that were paid for by the feed. We've got the palm trees. So as Tom said, you're not going to see the completed sidewalk in this, but you're going to get a fairly good representation of what this is going to look like with 72-inch box trees, with new street lights, and with a narrow street. And that's phase one of the enchilada. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I know you're a happy man, and it's exciting, and every day something new. So what a wonderful report, and we certainly will look forward to future reports. And as you go into it, Councilman, you want to add something?
I think Lois wants to.
Okay, Councilman, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, I just wanted to say that the area where you have the motels that are going to be renovated and everything, as you went through them and you talked about having maybe some holiday celebrations there and things, the little town of Cambria on the California coast has a Halloween festival that lasts for several days. I don't know if any of you have been to it, but they work it out. So, I mean, for the last time I was there, they had bicycles with maybe nuns riding them, but they had other things too. But what I'm trying to say is they had them by the library, they had them by their historical points of interest, and you could walk around, and the children just loved it because each one was connected with its theme, and then in between ones, they had little, maybe donations of candy and things like that. But that is always a very busy time in Cambria, and I think that could be done here too. I think people would enjoy it, and then you're seeing the historical district also.
Yeah, we agree. We think that the programming opportunities for the street are just vast. If the parade route moves back downtown and moves back to Fremont Street, you can the city could actually help program activity on the street by doing what we do best, building streets, taking care of trees and stuff like that, and program parades. You could add a holiday parade, you could add a Halloween parade, you could add a 4th of July parade, you could add a Cinco de Mayo parade, you could move all the other parades that exist downtown right now. And then on top of that, you could have a Halloween season. Some of these people, imagine the opportunity for haunted motels downtown. Imagine, every one different. Imagine every one with a safe place to bring your children for candy. This could become a destination for Las Vegas, not just a place for people who live downtown.
Well, I know that people go to Cambria from a distance just to see that type of celebration that they have.
Thank you, Councilman Coffin.
Thank you, Mayor, and to Mayor Pro Tem, I can assure you we have plenty of freaks here, and they will multiply, and they will prosper, and they will create stuff that we haven't even imagined if we have an environment like this. I want to say that there's a lot of love and work gone into this. It looks, it looks like a television production, but in fact, I know neither one of you have said this, but this was born October 1. I am sure of it. When I saw you spending hours and overnights, both of you, and a lot of other staff too, creating the garden over at 3rd and, or is it Casino Center in Charleston, the Remembrance Place, I thought, this is striking us deep. And I didn't know at that moment that we had lost one of the members, a vital member, a non-lawyer member of the city attorney's office who did all this hard work for us, creating all, the paper for all these requests from the insistent press. They can never get them fast enough and soon enough, and we turn it over by the thousands. But Cam Robinson was lost, and it struck all of us deeply, especially you, Council Jerbick, and I watched the pain in your face, and I watched Tom and everybody else who was working silently and with dedication, along with the people who funded the park, the people who donated their time, the gardeners, the landscapers, and the people who gave money who wanted to remain anonymous. And I thought this had to be your inspiration, because as we were planting trees in a rocky lot and flowers, and there was a lot of sweat and tears going into the ground there. And I'm just sure this is where it was born, because normally a project like this wouldn't come from a city attorney. Normally, no. This segment of it, it's heartwarming, and I don't want to get overly nostalgic, but this is in a sense a return to the Las Vegas that I saw when I came here in 1951. I mean, shade. There was no air conditioning. A lot of stores didn't even have air conditioning, but we counted on shade, and we had a lot of it. And we tore it all out because we wanted air conditioning. So I'm proud of this. Whatever the versions are going to be, and there will be many changes, it's going to be born of a real pure thought here, a real desire to leave our city the way at least we found it. I'm so happy to see this coming. All the iterations are going to be really interesting. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor?
I know it's a report, and we'll be hearing from you often and again, hopefully. But at the onset, promptly in 2 sentences, how do you see this being funded? Is this a private-public partnership you're hoping for? I mean, we're talking about some, and this is a piece, and I know it's going to change, and nothing's in stone, and this is just a first report, and it's ever growing and changing. But overall, you must have had a thought. How are we going to do this?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, these projects were already underway as implementation of the Vision 2045 plan. And I think Councilman Coffin, because he's exactly right, that's when Brad and I started talking about, when we were actually at the garden working one day, about some of these opportunities, because we were talking about 3rd Street and other opportunities. But these projects were already underway, so from that conversation that day at the Healing Garden, we thought, wouldn't it be great if we added these other pieces to the puzzle that brought in those experts that can really put a strategic eye to how we do things, then make sure we get it right. And so these projects were already funded through the normal, processes that we fund things in the capital improvement plan and so on. The additional piece are the contracts that we're asking for your consideration today. Mr. Arndt has been looking for years at ways and opportunities to do more studies on the right retail mix, and so he was very supportive, and that's, I think, the next item. And then bringing in the people who really understand the architecture in that street, the funding for that. And then ongoing, it'll be a combination of public-private partnerships and maintenance obligations that the city has for downtown. If we're going to do this and do it right and make sure we build the kind of downtown that's going to prosper, we are going to have some of those maintenance obligations. We already do, and so we'll just continue on with that. And Mr. Jerbick?
Yeah, that's accurate. On the other end, on the sign end, the mayor's aware that we intend to go to the Centennial Commission to ask for a grant to restore the neon signs. We have 2 different proposals right now. I gave kind of a warm-up to the Centennial Commission at their last meeting, and so we'll be appearing before them in July. And we're also looking, of course, to downtown projects to do their share on the private end. Again, that's to be determined how far that is and how much that is, but they'll be, since their buildings, we'll be looking at them to do the facades. So that's all the pieces of it.
Thank you very much. I see Councilman Creer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You know, I'm a downtown guy, right? So my first office was on 4th and Gas, and I live 5 minutes from downtown, so I'm a big proponent of advancing downtown and where it's going. When I moved into downtown, it was not quite as vibrant as it is now, so I'm very excited about the opportunities to move forward with this and to continue the expansion of downtown. And I just want to say that, you know, I look forward to working with you guys with the same passion and vigor and on our 100 plan for West Side Las Vegas as we revitalize Jackson Street and as we revitalize the entire West Side. I look forward to having that same passion and same drive that you guys have into executing our vision for West Side Las Vegas as well. So, thank you.
Thank
I
you,
can add to that,
Councilman.
not only will you have the passion, Councilman, but you'll also have some seasoned broken-in retail experts that specialize in exactly areas like that.
Perfect. We don't need to make the same mistakes twice.
There you go.
Thank you. And Councilman Soroka has a comment, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Gentlemen, it's an excellent vision, and it's a great way ahead, but at this time, I would just like to bring it down to what it is we, as the city, control. And I'll say, and I'll try to say what I think is my understanding. You can help me, because what I understand that we're doing is creating an environment that encourages this type of development, and at the same time, we have people like Brad and other folks that are working with the existing property owners to encourage them to follow suit. There's no requirement for them to do so, as I understand it. So my understanding is we are creating a street and a streetscape with landscaping that benefits this type of vision. And that's my understanding, and that the money for this comes from various sources, but the street work, I understand, would come from the fuel revenue indexing to help us with the street. And then, of course, we have the centennial funds to restore the signs. And we have additional funding from the RDA to help with the facades and the interior of the buildings that people would like to, on their own, buy or the downtown project to produce. Am I along the right lines there?
On the buildings themselves, that's downtown project. We're not touching the buildings. We will talk together and work together at what level of facade restoration we would both like to achieve, and they'll set a budget for it, but that'll be 100% funded by them. The signs, which are, when you think about it, like I explained to the Centennial, the signs are not like the Centennials being asked to do a commercial advertising sign for an existing business. These will never be open again. And so these are just historic neon signs, and so that's why we're going to Centennial.
So Brad, do the property owners purchase the sign and then the Centennial helps to restore the sign?
No, the property owners already own the signs. Every one of the signs is owned by the property owners. The question for Centennial is, if we give them money, how long will they maintain them? And so that's one of the things we're working on right now. We've talked loosely about the fact that they're so historic. Even if the motels become something different, they would probably keep the sign. Ferguson, for example, is being completely converted right now to 2 wings of retail. And in the back is Tony Hsieh's residence along with other people in the Airstream Park. They have kept the Ferguson sign. They've actually restored it on their own. It doesn't advertise the Ferguson anymore.
Along those lines, and this may be a question for Tom, are there ways that should these properties change hands over time, that there are conditions or requirements that those signs remain and continue to be maintained? Is that part of the...
That's exactly what we're working on. The contract will read one of 2 ways, that once they're restored, they'll have to be maintained for a certain period of time. We'll try and set up a maintenance budget for it, which we're trying to size right now. And then if the signs aren't used anymore, they'll have to be donated to something like the Neon Sign Museum.
But back to the original premise of my questions, we control the street and the streetscape, and that's our investment that we are talking about here over time. Is that true?
That's correct.
And does that funding come from Fry, or where does that funding that we will be using come from?
There are various sources, and I think Mr. Jansen can maybe give a more detailed answer, but there will be RTC funds, there will be federal funds, there will be flood control funds for the different components of the streetscape, just like any other project that we do, and like the many that we've been doing downtown for over a decade now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think those were the questions I was alluding to about the property that Tony Shane Downtown Projects own, and but that's all part of a process you're going to be going through. So nothing's in concrete now, and this is a great first report. So knowing that, I think it's time for us to move on to agenda item 7. Anything more you would like to add before we go there? Nope. Oh, okay. Agenda item 7, abeyance item, discussion for possible action regarding a retail project proposal for downtown Las Vegas, proposal between Downtown Works LLC and the City of Las Vegas City for retail consulting services involving East Fremont Street from Las Vegas Boulevard to 14th, $95,000 RDA Special Revenue Fund, Redevelopment Area Awards 3 and 5, Councilman Coffin and Creer. Any other questions here on this before I ask either Councilman Coffin or Councilman Creer to move on this? Okay.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of item 7, abeyance item.
Thank you very much. There's a motion to approve on agenda item 7. Please vote and please post. And that motion carries. And let's move on to agenda item 8, RA 14-2018, discussion for possible action regarding a resolution finding the project proposed by the owner participation agreement, OPA, between the City of Las Vegas Redevelopment Agency, RDA, Double D Group, LLC, owner and OPA participant, located at 625 South 10th Street, to be in compliance with and in furtherance of the goals and objectives of the redevelopment plan, authorizing the execution of the OPA by the RDA not to exceed $95,000 RDA Special Revenue Fund, Redevelopment Area 1, Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Note this item is related to Council Item 38, R 32-2018. And back to you, Mr. Arndt.
Thank you, Mayor Goodman. Again, for the record, Bill Arndt, Director, Economic and Urban Development. This project is part of our vision in downtown to try to get more quality housing downtown. As you know, we've had a multifamily incentive program to encourage property owners that own existing multifamily properties to renovate those properties and bring them up to market standards so that we can get more people living in downtown. This project's a little bit different. This is actually ground up new construction. We haven't seen a lot of construction for projects in this area of this scale, and we're really pleased that our partner, Jose Pichardo, is presenting this project to us. This project is located on 10th Street between Garces and Bonneville, and the project is a new 3-story building that is being called in our Vision 2045 plan the Founders District. It's affectionately known by some as Lawyers Row, given the area and the prominence of law firms in the area. But this is going to be a new 21,000 plus square foot building with 18 units for market rate housing. It will include a cafe space as well as parking on the property. Our partner is looking to invest over $2.8 million into the construction, which is a substantial investment. There's also amenities including a gym, a rooftop deck, and storage. And so as downtown competes to get more people living in downtown, we're really competing with everyone in the Las Vegas Valley. How do we get more people living in the downtown and the greater downtown area, not just the core downtown, but our neighborhoods surrounding downtown? We think this project's going to help. Here are some renderings. I know that Mr. Pichardo has brought his architect with him, and so they're here today to answer any questions you have about the project. And with that, I'll turn it over, and they can introduce themselves for the record and tell you a little bit more about timing, when this project's going to take place, and what the vision is for the project.
Thanks, Mr. Arndt. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is Jason Wadsworth. I'm a representative of the Wadsworth Investment Group and my family's interest in the Double D Group. First, I want to thank the council and briefly have some remarks and share some stories and history about the ownership team and this project. The Double D Group was formed in 2015 by my father, Herbert Wadsworth, and Jose Pichardo. The Wadsworth Investment Group, which is a stakeholder and owner, part owner of the Double D Group, was created by my father as a legacy development company. My dad is a 30-year naval officer, entrepreneur, and has lived in the Las Vegas community for over 20 years. Jose Picardo is a small business owner, a licensed real estate agent, and entrepreneur. Every company he has started has been right here in Las Vegas. He too has lived here for over 20 years. In 2012, while I was attending grad school at UNLV, I moved downtown. I had the opportunity to interact with a lot of people with varying interests, a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of stakeholders in the community. Although I moved out of Las Vegas to attend law school, I followed the downtown revitalization closely. The growth and the development has been really impressive since I've left. The city's assistance is important to this project for 3 reasons. First, the city's assistance will help us offset construction costs. Second, it has been difficult securing the right kind of financing structure and right kind of financing terms. The additional funds will help us close those financing gaps. Third and finally, these additional funds will help us be a part of the city's vision to keep downtown Las Vegas a zone of opportunity for minority and small business owners while creating jobs and increasing the development downtown. The Double D Group and its partners are passionate about downtown because downtown Las Vegas and the greater community is our home. This is my home of record when I joined the military myself. There isn't a more important partner than the city of Las Vegas and the folks that work every day to keep this community a diverse, dynamic community and a world-class city. And finally, again, I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to introduce the project and our team. Thank you.
Very exciting. Mr. Wadsworth, what high school?
I went to high school in Oregon, actually. I moved here right after high school.
Darn it. We'd love to have everybody come from our high school.
My siblings went to Silverado and Coronado.
Okay, excellent. Wonderful. Thank you. This sounds very exciting. And anything, Councilman Coffin? I think everything's...
If no one else has anything to say, the only thing that kind of shocked me a little bit was the rendering, the architectural rendering. I'm thinking a little more openness to it so it doesn't look like it closes its back, side, and front to the neighborhood there. But it's such a wonderful place to put a project, and there's no objections, none at all. This is not the first. This is maybe the second or third project now we're approving in this general area, which means a whole bunch of new opportunities for retailers down on East Fremont. And so for that, I really have to applaud you. And I'm familiar with it because we've visited. Jose has been in the office. And I know the council will appreciate it when it's built. I hope it's in my lifetime. I really do.
What is
You're going to build it. Yeah, when will it be finished? When are you going to break ground?
We're hoping for August 1st start date in 18 months, I think 8 months?
8 months completion.
You say 8 months after groundbreaking?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
After August 1st.
Okay, well, I'm not picking on it, just saying. We like to see things finished. I do appreciate what you're doing. And I have moved for approval of item number 8.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's a motion to approve agenda item 8. Please vote and please post. And that motion carries. It was briefly up there, but we're just so excited. Appreciate all that you do. It is
Thank you very much.
wonderful. Very
And
exciting.
Mayor, if I may, thank you for your service and the members of your team service as well in continuing to serve our community.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 9, citizen participation. This is our second citizen participation, the RDA meeting of June 6. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the redevelopment agency. No subject may be acted upon by the redevelopment agency unless the subject is on the agenda and scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, please come to the podium, give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Is there anyone wishing to speak under this portion of the agenda? Hearing and seeing none, this redevelopment agency is adjourned, and we have to transfer for technological reasons, so we will have a 5 to 7 minute recess. Thank you.